Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Sunday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, today I have a political video and I have two pieces I want to talk about. As usual, the links will be right down below so you could read the exact story that I'm referring to and where I got my information. The first story is about election polling place in Texas and something that occurred there and my thoughts on that. And the second thing I want to talk about is an editorial opinion piece that I read in the local newspaper. And I read this about a week ago, and I have not been able to get out of my mind. The level, the only thing I can call it is the level of misinformation and ignorance and irony. Misinformation, ignorance, and irony of this piece. It's a Maga voter, a Trump voter, and I have to share this with you because I haven't been able to forget this. It blows my mind that the level of education, the level of just misinformation, what people believe. That'll be next. But let me start first with the election polling place. Okay, this happened in Texas in the last week. Jesse Lutzenberger, 63 years old, and the thing that really just pisses me off about this is his smirk in this picture in his arrest photo where he's got that goddamn mega smirk on his face. Okay, this is what happened. He went in, 63-year-old man, Jesse. His picture will be in the thumbnail, and he went to the polling place and he was wearing a MAGA hat. And there's 21 states, I'm pretty sure it's 21 states in this country that don't allow paraphernalia, don't allow any clothing with a particular candidate on it. No Biden clothing, no Donald Trump clothing, so as not to influence anybody. And I'll talk more about that in a second. The reason I think that's important for this. And Connecticut is one of those states. So I'm used to this here in this state. We know better than to wear any kind of hat or clothing or stickers or anything, or I think you have to be so many yards away from the polling place too. Like as far as like influencing people, like with a Trump sign or something, you have to be away from the polling place. But here in Connecticut and in Texas, you can't walk into the polling place wearing anything with the candidate's name on them. You can't root for your person. And at that point, once you've gotten to the polling place, you should know who you're voting for. And we've seen enough of the rooting for candidates and all that. Once you get to the polling place, it's enough that you go in and you vote. Okay, so Jesse Lutzenberger, 63 years old, walks in with his MAGA hat. And he's asked by the 69-year-old, this guy is 6 years older than him. And I found that as I get older, years mean more. Like in the last 5 years, I've aged probably more than I did in the whole time I was like from 20 to 35. You get older quicker. I found that out. It's true. Like each year almost counts for 2 years or 3 years as you get older. I see myself age. I get the physical ailments. So I think there's a bigger difference between 63, which Jesse Lutzenberger's age, and the 69-year-old election poll worker. That's like if I punched a 65-year-old man. I wouldn't even think of doing something like that. Here in Connecticut, it's illegal to punch somebody that age. It's a felony here in Connecticut. I don't know if it is in Texas. Okay, so the election worker asks him to take his hat off, and he does. And then he goes, he votes, and he puts it back on the way after he votes, on the way out of the polling place. And again, you can't wear this stuff in the polling place. It's a law. It's a state law, and as an election worker, it's his job to uphold that. So this guy apparently, from what I've read, he swung around and he repeatedly punched the 69-year-old election worker in the face. Now, apparently the election worker is okay, and the local DA wants to prosecute this guy to the fullest, and I don't blame him. It's this, what I see here is this MAGA mentality. And you see this over and over again, where this is America, and I could do whatever I want. I could say whatever I want. If it's not true, or if it's true, if it's going to hurt people, or whatever, it doesn't matter because this is America, and I could do any goddamn thing I please. And it's just the level of entitlement is just amazing to me. Okay, so the reason for this, and I think this is pretty easy to understand. I think the biggest thing is to prevent intimidation. Okay, as a Harris voter, I pull up to the polling place, and there's 20 or 30 guys like Jesse Lutzenberger out in front with their smirks and their MAGA hats and their signs and whatnot, or inside the place. That's intimidation. Like I said, we've seen enough of the rooting for your candidate. I've seen the signs on the yards, I've seen the bumper stickers, I've seen the clothing. The time for that ends once you get to the polling place. That should be done. You walk in, you do your business, your right, your privilege of voting, and the time for rooting for your candidate should be over at that point. To prevent intimidation. I think it's a pretty obvious. I'd love to see this guy get prosecuted. Like I said, the freaking smirk on this guy's face just makes me want to swing on him. I know that's wrong. Okay, so let me get to the next story now. This opinion piece that I read in the paper, and I'm going to sum it up really quickly for you guys. I don't think I can go back. I don't think I can find the link for this right now. I'm going to see if I can find it and put it down below, but you're going to have to believe me on this. Or you can look it up. It's a Waterbury Republican American. It's the local newspaper, and it was an opinion piece in there I'd say about 8 days ago. And this is a Trump voter. And basically what she said was, she was very upset and worried that Kamala Harris is going to bring socialism to the United States. Now, I know I've heard Bernie Sanders talk about democratic socialism or social democracy or whatever, whichever one you refer to. That is not communism. I heard a quote that I really love. It's countries are based in history. Countries or civilizations are judged on how they treated their weakest members, their weakest people in their society, how they treated those people. And I love that quote. And with socialism or democratic socialism, you're taking care of people that need a hand up. You're caring for your fellow citizens, not giving them a handout, but a hand up. That's the way I see it. Okay, so this person writing this opinion piece goes on, and this is what really blows my mind. She goes on to say that in all the previous wars that America fought, they fought against socialism. Okay, think about that for a second. Think about that. What did the previous wars, Vietnam, Korea, that was against communism, not socialism, not even close to democratic socialism. Okay, let's go back to World War II. Now we're talking about Nazis. We're talking about fascism. And the irony of this, not only the misinformation that this person really believes that previous wars were fought over socialism, which they weren't. They were not even close. It just blows my mind that this woman says this. But her candidate has made it a fact that he sees some good points in fascism, about being a dictator for a day and stuff like that. That's her candidate. So the irony of her statement almost made my head spin. I don't even know how to address this. How do you even debate somebody like that? How do you even address that level of misinformation and ignorance? I put a post in my Facebook page, and I talked about this. And this is what I said, and I'll leave you guys with this. This person reminds me back when I was in high school, there was people that, I believe it or not, I did good in high school, and there was people in every class that would fall asleep in the back of the class. The people that, those people, the people that fall asleep against the radiator in the back of class. And that's what Trump voters remind me of. The people back in high school that used to fall asleep in the back of history class against the radiator. The bell would ring and everybody else would leave class, and the person would still be laying on the radiator sleeping, not aware that everybody else had left class. That's who Trump voters remind me of. All right, you guys, let me know what you think. Have a good Sunday.